Salam, Namaste, Sat Shri Akal, Adab. It's a great day. Let me give you a little background. What intrigues me most about how companies continue to compound year after year across markets, across cycles, to stay relevant for decades is no accident. It's a result of structural decisions, leadership culture, market strategy, nimbleness, but most importantly, execution discipline. In this conversation, I want to understand what really goes into building an absolutely global legacy company. That's one part. The other part is in the India context. When you kind of look at India, you're not looking at one market. Actually, it's a multiple market, multiple worlds folding into one market. It's like stacking Sub-Saharan Africa, Mexico, Brazil, and then on top of that, there is that creamy layer of Monaco as well. What also intrigues me that in this complex market, how does a global company execute with precision over the last many, many decades? So it gives me absolute pleasure. We have with us Reinhold Jakobi, Senior Vice President and Head of Nestlé Professional for Global. We have Jeroen Pluijmers, Corporate Vice President and Head of Nestlé Professional for Asia, Middle East, Oceania, and Africa. Oh, that's amazing. I like the Africa. I have so many questions on Africa. And of course, we have Saurabh. Hi, Saurabh. How are you doing? He's Director for Nestlé Professional for India. I'm going to dive right in, Reinhold, with you. More than 3 decades at Nestlé. When you look at India from the outside in perspective, of course, do you believe from a food service perspective, have we reached there yet? And if we have reached there yet, when I look at the entire food and beverage industry, I think we are 3rd largest in the world, right? By pretty much by volume and scale. Or is it, in your opinion, my follow-up question is that India is a story waiting to be told louder? Are we there yet?
I think part of the answer is what you've mentioned while starting our discussion. India is so many things that it's not right to say it's a country. It has the complexity, the magnitude of a continent and more. Now, if India is there yet as a question, India is everywhere.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, there is India in terms of culture expressed, and we are here in a hospitality school, expressed in hospitality, in cuisine. India is everywhere. India is also top of mind, yeah. You know, and it stands for something specific. So I would say yes, India is there, but then also you refer to there are multiple Indias, and there is the Monaco to take an analogy. And also that Monaco is well known. Yes, India is there, but India has so much more to give, to go for, That would be the second part, that there is much more to be worked on, to look forward to, and to contribute.
We can't be two things at the same time, Reinhold. We can't be, let's say, in the hierarchy, the top 3 in the world in terms of the F&B size of the business. And this story, at least on the F&B front, is not conveyed much to the world. Why are we so hesitant, in your opinion? Again, from a very outside-in perspective, I ask.
Yeah.
Because this is a complex question I'm going to ask Saurabh as well, because he's, for him, completely handling the Indian market.
Actually, I don't see it that way.
Okay.
I see from the outside-in perspective that India is very much there.
Okay. And has this changed in the last decade? Is this perception changed?
I see only a positive progression.
Wow.
I see a solidification, and it depends in which subjects people are referring to India. We're just coming from Bangalore. Oh my God.
It's a crazy city.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a crazy city.
We have seen third place coffee execution. They are second to none. So you can be both.
Yeah.
And a continent dimension like we have here is, and if you allow me to...
Please.
I don't want to contradict,
Yeah.
but if you allow me to say, I think India represents both.
Yeah.
And I take a quick analogy, and this is not an advertisement session, but we are representing a company which does own Nespresso.
Yes. And we just launched in India. Am I right? About a year ago.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I would have wished would be 5 years earlier.
Yeah. Seriously. You're absolutely right. Because the coffee culture, I think, happened almost a decade ago. You're right.
Absolutely.
You're about 7 years, 9 years too late. But hey, it's still there. Fantastic.
But we also have a wonderful sunrise product for a big part of the population who's looking forward to this coffee experience they might have never had before.
True.
So you can be both.
Yeah.
If I may add.
Of course.
Yeah. If you traditionally look at, you were mentioning Africa.
Yeah.
So we're looking at Africa. So you see, if you look at the food service industry, there's different stages in the industry. So you have emerging, developing, developed. Historically, historically, if you look at the food service industry, it started with the full service restaurants.
Correct.
And then people start consuming it out of home. They go to a restaurant as a third place, as a destination. And then when the disposable income and the socioeconomics change, you see that other channels start to emerge. Of course, the hotel channel.
Correct.
And that's how hospitality starts to develop with the HoReCa. And if you now reflect on India, well, on the one hand, out-of-home consumption is increasing in these restaurants. And we have the statistics, as Saurabh just presented, that people are spending more in out-of-home instead of a few times per month. They start doing it a few times per week. So that is the emerging part. At the same time, you see other channels, and the delivery part and the dark kitchen part is an example of that, where India is way ahead of other markets or in other countries. So you see India developing different Indias, different channels at different paces. And that is so interesting that India is skipping certain stages and leaping.
I was just...
That's why India is such a fascinating and interesting market for us to focus on. That's also why we're here, by the way. That's why we're working with Saurabh on plans to unlock the big opportunities in India. Because you see, we need to be relevant for this emerging channel, and we need to be part of almost developed and leading channels compared to other countries. And that's super fascinating.
So before I go to Saurabh, Jeroen, I needed to ask you this question. And it's very fascinating. You are looking at Africa and you're looking at Asia, and I'm more interested in Asia, China.
Yeah.
Right? And you've been in Nestlé for over 2.5 decades. That's a separate story altogether, right? But the fact is, India today is perhaps where China was a decade and a half ago, right? Mm-hmm. What changes do you see? You have seen China evolve from a 5,000 per capita to, let's say, 10,000. India is the 4th largest economy right now. What changes would you see in consumerism when we go from let's say 4,000 to 10,000. I'm just kidding because you saw that happening in China.
So yeah, and I'm always a bit hesitant to say it, and I don't know if that's, but India is the new
China.
And we've seen this leap happening in China.
Yeah.
And this went extremely fast.
Yeah.
For instance, the whole digitalization of the market. Yeah. And also the digitalization, how you consume and pay in out of home, but also how the operators use the data that they collect, the first party data of the consumers. Now, this leap is, and we've talked about it a lot in the recent days as well, what you see in China with the coffee and tea shop chains.
True.
Rapidly expanding. And by the way, they are now entering ASEAN because China is so competitive that they go now into Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam.
Yeah.
They want to go to Middle East. And the question that we have as well, what is happening in India? When do we see these tech-driven chains rapidly expanding into India? And there we can learn from China.
Yeah.
And that went super fast. And by the way, they also were at failures there, right? The illustrators.
For sure.
So knowing the tech background of India, we know this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And this will probably take it to another pace and another leap. Yeah. If I think of the opportunities and the potential of this continent.
And when you look at it from an economics perspective, every $1 trillion India adds to its economy, 100 million move to the next stack. So it's like literally taking a Mexico,
Exactly,
and putting it into a Brazil, taking an entire Brazil, and perhaps putting into another country.
Yes.
With every 1 trillion. And we have a 10 trillion headway in front of us. We are at about 4. And by 2047, that's 100 years post our independence. And that's the grand plans for India. You know what? I wish I was 20 years old. Seriously. I look 20, right? But I wish I was 20.
just feel twin.
I like it. But the toughest job is Saurabh's, and I'll tell you why, right? And I'll tell you why, Saurabh, according to me, from an outside-in perspective. You are a veteran in consumer goods and everything. Everything changes with the pin code here. It's so multi-layered. It's still a sachet economy. You see what I'm saying? How do you manage a global player and in this constantly evolving, vibrant, yet complex and layered market?
I think the beauty of India is really in the old cliche, and food service and food is no different. Huh? They say there is unity in diversity.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a unified India.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there is a diverse India.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know, even I was just reviewing coastal cuisine, for example.
Yeah.
There are 30 regional cuisines in that 7,500 kilometers of coastline.
The peninsula India.
I've not even come to the north. I've not even come to the west. I'm not even speaking about the eastern part of the north. And then you look in the south.
Yeah.
30 regional.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. It's a continent masquerading as a country.
It's beautiful. But at the same time, there are a lot of unifications which actually hold us together, right? And Nestlé as a company, I think over the years has really leveraged these unifications very well, right? Do we have today a Maggi noodles which suits each of these 30 regional cuisines? The answer to that question is no, but Maggi noodles is a favorite brand.
Yeah.
Right. Do we have a Milkmaid more in the food service arena which caters to all of these hundreds of cuisines? The answer is no. There is one brand which is loved universally. So the beauty in marketing to diversity, and that's really the challenge. And it's not a tough job. I think it's a very interesting job. It is tough and it's interesting. Like my boss says, it's pleasure and pressure.
If it's not tough enough, if it's not tough enough, we can make it tougher.
It's pleasure. It's pleasure and pressure. Yeah. The beauty is to make our loved brands relevant to this diversity. So when you talk about a brand like Milkmaid, how do you market this brand across numerous applications to appeal to all of these regional cuisines? How do you take a brand like Maggi coconut milk powder, which talks to a unified cuisine,
And incidentally, that's your hero brand.
Absolutely.
One of the hero brands.
like a Thai cuisine or a Oriental cuisine? How do you make it talk to coastal cuisine in the south?
True.
I think that is really the beauty of category management when it comes to Nestlé Professional, and that's the very interesting jog that I have.
And it's interesting you spoke about Maggie, and I have a story around Maggie, right? I don't know. I think Maggie came into India, Nestle came into India in the early 80s with Maggie. I'm not sure, or the early 80s, but that's my earliest memory.
Yeah, that would be right.
And around 1980, 81. And we came from that sub-Sahara background of India. We couldn't afford Maggie at that point in time. It's because the nature of the family that I kind of came from. You just couldn't afford it. But look at it, 40 years later, who knew I would have this school? And I'm sitting with the global leadership of Nestle over here talking about Maggie. And that's circle of life. And that's optimism and everything.
Yeah.
Reinhold, tell me something. You've been with Nestle for the longest time, right? There is this narrative going around in the world about the fact, at least with this generation which we have, and the earlier generation as well, that loyalty is overstated, right? And here you are, you have grown through the ranks, 3 decades, global president, global head of Nestle. What would you tell them?
I can tell you why this is, for me, not difficult, because the values of that organization and the values I stand for, they're gelling. And the size, the magnitude of the organization is as such that you can change or evolve like others would have to change the company. Because who has the breadth of brands Nestle has? We have, I think it's now 31 or 32 billionaire brands. We are in 180 countries worldwide. And there are plenty of positions of opportunities where you can grow in an organization if you want to. You don't have to. Not everybody wants to move around the world.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and not everybody wants to take responsibility of aspects he is not interested in. But all what I want to say, the values gel. The organization provides the opportunities to move if one wants to. So why would I have to change?
If I put a layered question to that, right? What is it about Nestle, in your opinion? You've served almost, again, more than 2.5 decades, right? What is it about Nestle, that it has been a consistent compounder and has been a market leader in just about all the categories that your products are in? Over the decades, what is it about it? Is it about high agency people that you recruit? Is it about company culture, the values? What is it about?
Yeah, so very good question, which is good for me to reflect upon as well. So I joined Nestle in the Netherlands, but I always had the ambition to go abroad. Don't ask me why. I've always had this curiosity to other cultures. I love to be here. I love to live in other countries. Love the food in the different cuisines everywhere. So when I joined, it was my aspiration. And then I had the opportunity to go to the head office in Switzerland. And then actually from then onwards, you suddenly enter the big world of Nestle. And then I had the opportunity to continue international. So I went to the Middle East, I went to China, and now I'm based for the region in Singapore. And if I now reflect on it, if you now look at the patterns over the years, so first of all, I fully agree with Reinhold on these values. And so loyalty for me has never been something that I had to think about. These are my values. These are the values of Nestle, and they perfectly match. So, and I think that is also, what we say is it's rooted in the respect. Respect within the company, respect for the employees, respect for self, and obviously respect for all the stakeholders. That is consumers, that is the business partners, that is the other partners in the industry. And I think that is, by truly having a strong sense of continuous improvement while respecting the different cultures, that gives a lot of energy, and the obsession of course we are competitive and we want to win. But the winning is almost like following the obsession to be relevant in the local market with the local consumer. And what Saurabh was mentioning earlier about Maggie, it's not just about the product, it's about, for us in food services, about the application of the product. So Milkmaid has been there. But now we've just been tasting the Vietnamese coffee over the last days. So how can you stay leading in all these different countries that Reinhold was mentioning? It is being obsessed with the consumer. And that's why we, as Nestlé Professional, also say we want to make more possible for our customers to delight their consumers. So this is so deeply rooted in who we are. And then that's how you can stay. The result is that you continue to.
The point is you're a hungry company even today. Am I right? For market share, retaining the market share,
The hunger comes
expanding.
from the people, of course.
Yeah.
And the people
Because you recruit high agency people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let me put it the other way. Anyone can respond to that, right? But the fact is that because it's a compounding company,
Yep.
your career also compounded with a compounding company.
Yep.
Yes.
Just imagine it was not a compounding company, but you had the values, then there would have been some element of, I would say, that my pace is a little bit more than yours. But the fact is, because it's a monopoly mindset company, and I say it in a good way. I didn't say it in a bad way at all. Monopoly, leading, hungry, put a product out there, make it into $1 billion, otherwise not interested, or the pursuit of.
I think what you're saying now, the career is not the objective. It's doing your job well, being obsessed with that. That is the objective, and the career follows automatically. I think that's core in the culture of Nestlé.
Yep. If I may quote one of our former, we didn't have too many CEOs, we have long service CEOs, former CEO and chairman. Peter Brabeck was once asked, Peter, how do you make sure you hire the best people? And his answer was, and I still love to reflect on that, we don't hire the best people. We make them the best.
I love it. You're so right. You're absolutely right. That's deep. Saurabh, again, looking at the India market, what does it take? The fact is you're making the best people, but Nestlé goes to the best B schools to get the best people, right? What does it take to have that mindset? Can you define what is high agency? Who can enter Nestlé?
I think this is really an organization where, first of all, culture precedes merit. And there are, like Reinhold and Jeroen was saying, some very, very strong values that we look at when we go to, and then we talk to some of the bright people coming out of business schools. The values of respect, the values of humility, and the values to continuously and curiously learn, right? And I think all of us in Nestlé who spent some time, and I've also spent now nearly a couple of decades, more than a couple of decades, have imbibed those values. So I think that is really the first high agency tick mark for me when it comes to talent. I can train talent. I cannot cultivate attitude.
True.
Right? I can improve attitude. I cannot change the DNA for you. Right? And I think that DNA is something which is extremely important to the Nestlé recruitment process. The other thing which I think we do exceedingly well as a company is that we put our heads down and we look for talent that can execute brilliantly. And I say this very often. A consistently average strategy executed to the hilt is better than sparks of brilliance.
True.
And what we want to avoid over here is really those sparks of brilliance. But a strategy that is good, a strategy that is consistent, and a strategy that is executed flawlessly till the last minute to the last man standing. And I think these are the kind of attributes from a leadership perspective we really, really value the organization.
So essentially, when you put yourself out there, if things don't work, change the process, change this, whatever it takes, be nimble, be agile,
Absolutely.
be at it,
Oh, yeah.
figure it out. That mindset is that what you're kind of looking at.
resilience and
resilience, perseverance stretched over a period of time.
Absolutely. I keep telling people, Nestle is much more than a company.
Yeah.
And I'm not advertising Nestle over here. I'm talking about my 2.5 decades, nearly 2.5 decades of being at Nestle. Nestle is an institution.
Yeah, but from an outside-in perspective, I can tell you for a fact, and let me take you back 3-4 decades, right? That has been a bellwether company for consumer goods.
Yeah.
For the longest time, and consumer, for the longest time, from an FMCG perspective, from a consumer, for the longest time, and consistently been the same. There are just handful companies in the world have these domineering kind of a presence. Would you agree?
I react to the word domineering because it has a bit of a negative touch to me, and we don't dominate by and large. We also never dominate in a business. We are strong.
Let me rephrase it. Influencing company.
No, and the last thing I would want to leave as an impression that I would criticize.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's just I make a differentiation. We have strong positions. We usually have to work very hard for them and to keep them there. But one aspect which differentiates, and also it's perhaps not seen by everybody like that, but Nestlé is one of a true multinational organizations, where many others are international.
Right.
And the differentiating factor for me, one of the differentiating factors is we generate about 1.5% of revenue in our home country, and that's since nearly 160 years. So 98% in the world. So of course, India is much stronger than our home country. This is with other fast-moving consumer goods companies not the case. And it is reflected in our management team. Passport, gender, color is irrelevant. It is merit in a Nestlé context. And hence there is this aspect that we are for respect, and starting with ourselves, because we need to demonstrate that to our own organization to start off with, but of course every other business partner. And we need to serve the world. We come from a small place. We're not in a position to dominate. That's why I react to that.
Okay.
Because we come from this very humble background.
Yep.
Switzerland was a very poor country 200 years ago, 150 years ago. There are no oceans, there's no seafood, there is no oil, there is no gold. This is a place where even if you want to grow some potatoes, you have to first remove the rocks.
And then pour Avion on that.
Vitel. Yeah. Opinier. So what Reinhold is saying, if I think of it now, because you're saying, so let's use the word a leading multinational company. When I grew up in the Netherlands, I thought that Maggi was a Dutch brand.
That cannot be, because it was a German brand.
He thought, I say Maggi, he said Maggi. Okay. And if you go to Australia, they say Maggi, and they think it's an Australian brand. Yeah. If you now go to West Africa, they say Milo. They think that Milo, is a local brand. Okay. So I think that has been, where Nestlé has always been so local. So
that's interesting. The culture owns the brand.
Exactly. So Switzerland is the home office. 2% of the turnover, present in all those markets, locally relevant. And I think that is part of the success. Respecting the local consumer and being relevant with your products in the local cuisine or the local beverages, the local nutrition. I think that is part of the more than 160 years success of this company.
Let me ask you, you often have to look ahead in the lens, right? And start working today about the food service trends that you will be seeing in the next 3-4 years, right? R&D takes that kind of a long time. You're not going to put any product out there unless you're absolutely sure, right? Locally it serves, and it can also become a global product. What are the 2 or 3 food service trends do you see in the future today?
So and maybe I'll ask Saurabh, you will talk for me, but I think the digitalization is absolutely key. The whole way of working. I mean, it's important for us. It's crucial for us, but it's also the way we work with the operators and the interconnectivity, the integrated end-to-end way of working, and the whole digitalization of that.
Sorry, so I was just coming in on your prompt when Jeroen was asking the question. I think before we really discuss the trends, we should really figure out who is shaping the trends. And the people who are shaping the trends are in this room.
Correct. The consumers.
It's the youth.
Is the youth.
It's the millennials and it's the Gen Zs, right? And statistics are known. 2/3 of this population very soon are going to be millennials or Gen Zs, or already millennials or Gen Zs. Their proportion in the workforce is increasing as we speak, right? These are the guys who are going to have the money because they are going to be entering the workforce. These are the guys who are going to have the propensity to consume. And these are the guys who are going to have the propensity to spend out of home.
Yep.
So not surprising, therefore, that the incidence of out-of-home consumption occasions has doubled in the country in the course of the last 10 years.
That's because the ecosystem has also changed to support
The
that.
system has also changed.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt in my mind as a trend going forward that this incidence of consumption of food out of home is going to now increase in geometric progression. It's not going to be an arithmetic numerical progression.
It's not going to be linear, what you're trying to say. It's going to be intergenerational. It's going to be leapfrog.
Now, what's going to be feeding all of this is this online delivery and all of that. But one has to understand that what is the root cause of what is driving this trend? It is the wonderful young people seated over here, whom I'm looking at, right? And I think that's really the future. Now, the interesting part when you look at people like that is when these people look at social media, when they look at pop culture, and I can see them really smiling. There are a lot of trends. There are some trends which will become real trends, and then there are certain fads, right? As companies, as industry, as institutes, as educational enterprises, we need to be agile enough to capitalize on both. We need to capitalize on the fads, and we need to take cognizance of the trends. That's the only way the ecosystem is going to...
So what are those trends, Saurabh? What are, at least in the Indian context, what are those trends that you're seeing?
So one very, very big trend that I'm seeing, and again, I'm coming from the unity and diversity kind of thing, is that we all love global cuisine, but at the end of the day, we want to gravitate to our comfort food.
True.
We want to gravitate to our own regional cuisine. I think this is something which is very, very peculiar in India. And I think this is something which is going to continue in the long term. The other trend that I'm seeing more from an operator standpoint, which is very interesting from an industry standpoint also, is this trend towards standardization. Skill sets are becoming scarce. A lot of attrition when it comes to Horeca. And therefore, people are looking at more and more standardization going forward. And that's where I think companies like us come in to help with that standardization. We are not here to sort of replace anything that the chef does, right? We are supposed to complement to what the chef does, make the chef's life easier, and therefore make more possible. And that's really the ethos. So standardization is one big trend that I see going forward. And the third, which is very, very important for an industry like us, is the consumers seek for hygiene and food safety. So more and more as we evolve, the industry is going to get organized. Now that is great news for all of us seated in this room. And I think that is something which is going to happen on a sustained basis.
Yeah. True. So you know your numbers better than me, at least as far as where India is kind of heading, right? But here is something which I am unable to understand. The last figure that I was kind of seeing that pretty much every month about 1 million Indians are turning 18 going forward for the next 5 years.
Wow.
Every month, 1 million Indians are turning 18 years of age. That means that's the demographic dividend, right?
Yeah.
And on the other side, the contrast that I'm kind of hearing you, Saurabh, is the fact that there is a scarcity of talent. Where are these guys going? Because on the other side, there is AI and deep tech and all those things happening, right? And India, more specifically, we are a consumption economy.
Yep.
We have a manufacturing base, but we are largely a service, consumption, hospitality economy, right? So standardization, I totally agree. I think more and more people will embrace hospitality as a discipline to serve the hospitality economy in any element. Chef from a skill perspective,
Yep.
right? An entrepreneur servicing the service economy. Of course, you will require, because what will happen is when AI really finds itself deep rooted, the HR functions would perhaps deleverage itself.
Yeah.
The marketing function would, and those are people are also entering the same workforce in some other areas. I think
But the real service part.
it's like China. Indians love to eat. Food is an entertainment. It is like Netflix now.
It goes back to the little bit of discussion we were having
Yeah.
before the podcast, which is how do you view hospitality?
Yeah.
Is hospitality equivalent to a hotel?
Yeah.
Or is hospitality from the context of India a much larger subject to it? Today, when I go to a hospital, and my father's a doctor, and I go to a hospital, I see a lot of these attendants, a lot of these patients, people who sort of come with patients wanting to go to food courts, which is there in the hospital. That to me is hospitality.
Yeah,
That to me is a sector which 5 years back, by the way, was not there, or 10 years back was not there. When I go to an education institute, the other day I went to the University of Solipas, Ashoka University.
Really?
I wish I was a student who was born 20 years later with proper food. When I went to a hostel, there was nothing.
Yeah, there was a.
Today in that hostel, there's a Subway, there is a KFC, there is a Pizza Hut,
Yeah.
there is a local food,
Yeah.
which is Haldiram, there is a Bikaner, there is everything that you can potentially look at. Now that is again hospitality.
Yeah.
Hospitality in education.
Yeah.
When I look at an office today,
Yeah.
look at we were yesterday at one of our marquee customers, which is JP Morgan and Chase. Right. Their office is the facilities are run by by Compass. It's a
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just tell you, Brian, the way I kind of look at
manager.
Yeah, the way I kind of look at it is you could be a solar panel manufacturer till such time you leave your factory. After that, it's all hospitality content.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everything is hospitality.
Absolutely.
Right? And if everything is hospitality, then hospitality is a discipline.
Yeah.
And it's not a mindset. It's not a necessarily a particular skill. It's a discipline by itself.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting. Reinhold, the question to you is, Saurabh has elucidated in terms of what the food trends would be. Now, when you look at culinary schools all over the world, right, including the one that you're kind of looking at, Ecole de Caisse India, what would you tell us in terms of as a suggestion that although we are in sync with the industry because we believe that the industry is our primary customer.
Of course.
It's only after we believe that the industry is our primary customer, we take everything back into whatever we do, curriculum, technique, how we teach, every aspect of it, right? Because industry is the primary customer. But what would you tell, or what advice would you give institutions like us? Where should we be heading, and what differently should we be doing?
I start off by stating that I see us in the same boat. We are sitting in the same boat, and we are rowing all together, ideally in the same direction. The challenges I see, and that is more a global view, because I was listening carefully when you were seeing the growth of the hospitality sector going forward. That's very, very interesting. And I guess, or I conclude, that India will be a net contributor globally, to very much so, because I see that in the context of the challenges going forward, or the opportunities going forward. One, very clear, we hear it every day, technology, AI, that will no doubt dramatically change how we work, how we look at data, how we utilize data, what skills everybody needs to have.
I think we'll all become more productive.
I fully agree with you.
Per hour.
Yeah, I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
And looking at that in the context of that discipline you very nicely and rightly highlighted of hospitality, I see a clear skill gap globally. There is a skill scarcity on the hospitality side and the culinary side. Huh? So that location is, that facility, that institution is spot on in that country or continent. And then the third aspect, we've alluded to that before, is this generational evolution we see with new generations coming into the decision-making positions, which have different expectations, different realities around, because the external environment will impact us. I don't want to go too much into environmental aspects, but it is a fact. No? And that combined with nutritional needs in many parts of the world, a rapidly aging environment, 1 million Indians becoming 18 every year for quite a few years to come. These three aspects in our sector: the technology, the skills, and the societal evolution are massively impacting us, and we need to be ready for that. That's why we're here. We have an absolute treasure trove of knowledge in our organization, and that goes way beyond the product we're offering, which is our commercial proposition. We have agricultural knowledge, we have nutritional knowledge, we have nutritional deficiencies by country, by age group. We are spending an absolute fortune on researching that. And we had this discussion a couple of days ago. For us, and for me, it is a pleasure and an urge to provide this treasure trove of knowledge to institutions like yours. And that is not a commercial activity. This is putting us in a better position for these three mega aspects I'm seeing going forward, and providing these insights, this knowledge for helping us to progress in the industry. And I refer to that, I'm borrowing from a phrase this week, is not giving back, giving forward to the age cohort coming up.
And you know, all the more reason in the Indian context, right? You need to, the pay it forward, as you rightly said, is because going back is India is today where perhaps China was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So what we know is we have the playbook of what not to do. Or we also know when we are going from 4,000 per capita to, let's say, 10,000 per capita, at the end of the day, if any industry has ever thrived in the history of this world, it has always participated in academia. In the history of the world. Today, India is a net tech exporter for the simple reason for 2 decades the industry participated inside the classroom.
Great example.
Yes. So even from a food service, food tech, innovation labs, R&D that you do, the more academia gets involved, both on a deep research on one side for you, projects on the other side for you, as I would say as supplemental to what you do, you will have more youth coming in too and embracing, I would say in this case, the culinary part of it. And rightfully what you said, Reinhold, is tomorrow when Nestlé is truly a multinational, 180 countries, India will be that net culinary exporter as well. Trained and I would say nurtured by global companies like you. It is incumbent. It is like it has to be done.
So what you're saying now, and if I compare it again to our China experience, the hardware and the software.
Correct.
So at a certain moment, you will have all the hardware. And this is also where AI will come in and the automation come in. What you need to make it successful is the software, the right? Also, that's where people come in. And that's where skills come in.
China
and knowledge comes in. And this is where academia comes in.
Absolutely. China is the manufacturing capital, right? 8 out of 10 manufacturing happens there. India is the human capital.
Exactly.
It's period. It's the human capital.
Yep.
You want HR professional, India. You want marketing professional, India. Why?
Exactly.
The world is aging. India is growing young
Yep.
for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yep.
And I want to add something there that India has, to me and in my experience, since many decades already provided the most skilled colleagues I have been working with. I can tell you the financial training an accountant has to go through in this country. This is second to none.
Absolutely.
And we as a company, we have talent from India exported already since decades. I have been working with several Indian CFOs,
absolutely right.
on very senior. It was a good friend of ours, by the way, of course, over many years of working together. So it is not, in my experience, something which is coming. It's something which already happening since years.
And you look at Middle East, per se, it's the Indians. Oh, yeah. From construction workers, right at the, let's say, bottom of the funnel to, let's say, the CFOs or on the top of the funnel are all Indians because of who we are. And you know why? Culturally, education is deep-rooted.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
There is an old Indian saying, you don't grow rich, you educate yourself first. Everything else is a byproduct of that. And that is so intrinsic in our kind of a culture and in our DNA across all the pin codes, crazy amount of pin codes, let me say, in India, that kind of exists, right? Saurabh, you have, if not anything, at least about 4 to 5 million Indians, including the live audience listening to you, right?
That's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure. But you said he's pressure and pain both, right? Okay. Pressure of amortization of wisdom. And you got to be very careful what you're saying right now, all right? Otherwise, you'll be trolled. No, I'm just kidding. But the fact is, what would you tell them? What would you tell them? Why should they be embracing this particular sector, this entire food service? And I believe that, you know what I truly believe? You could be working for Nestlé. Somebody could be a doctor, in your case, your father. And let's say your child could be a lawyer. But all of you will spend in hospitality. All of you.
That's a very loaded question. Huh?
What would you tell the Indian youth?
Let me attempt to give advice.
Yeah, sure.
Food service is going to be an extremely vibrant sphere to be in. And from a young audience perspective, from a youth perspective, it's always great to be part of something which is growing. It's always great to be part of something which is vibrant. And it's always great to be part of something which you know is going to be big in the future. That's why I think IT was very exciting 10 years back, 15 years back. That's why tech is very exciting, was very exciting 5 years back, still is very exciting. Food service is at that cusp. It's taking off and it's going to be very exciting for the next 10, 15 years in terms of how this evolves. The one big advice I'd like to give is like in a vibrant sector like this, where the opportunity is so immense, you have to choose your battles appropriate. You have to make very strong choices. And I think that is something which really hones your decision-making skills very early in your career if you join the food service sector. There are so many opportunities. There are 10 things which I can potentially do today. There are 20 things which potentially my national sales manager can do today. Which of those, 2 of those 20 things is what is going to give me the biggest dividend? I have to, as a manager, I have to, as a professional who joins the food service space, I have to, as youth who joins the food service space, who chooses to work in this case, I have to really identify those 1 or 2 things that I will do after.
You know, they're going to be global Indians, right? Some of them may work for you. Some of them may work for you across 180 countries. What would you like to tell them?
Yes. Building on what Saurabh is saying, and back to your question and about this industry, if I take it a little bit more philosophical, so you have these questions, what makes you happy?
Yeah.
Part of it is in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
But the other part is, and there's also what do you do with your money? If money doesn't make you happy, you're not spending it right. So, and scientific research has shown that when does money make you happy? If you spend it on experiences or you spend it on others. And that's where the hospitality industry comes in for me. Because by serving, you will give others this experience. So you're actually a part of the experience and you're serving others. So this naturally, if I analyze myself, it gives me a lot of fulfillment. And if you can be in a leadership role, then it is truly about to lead is to serve. And that for me, and that's maybe selfish, is extremely fulfilling to see others flourish. And that's why I think this food service industry, this hospitality industry, is such a wonderful industry to work in.
True. More than 3 decades, global head. You've grown through the ranks. You've seen it all. You've seen it all throughout the world. You've worked with crazy number of presidents, CEOs in countries, globally as well. What are the 2 or 3 things that have kind of stuck with you, which I would say is uncompromisable for you from a leadership perspective?
That's a very good question. I think one thing for everyone, when you look in the mirror, you got to be sure that you be yourself. You cannot be. You should not compare. You got to be yourself, and you work on more skill.
Yeah.
You be yourself, but with more skill.
Yeah.
And one of those many leaders, and I always, near on a daily basis, discover that I haven't seen it all because there's always something
So much more, yeah.
that is so rich and multifaceted. You got to look in the mirror, and you have given the best of your capabilities on that day, and you're going to promise to yourself that you're going to do the best of your capabilities the next day. Is that what is required? Well, this is for others to decide. That is not for me to decide, because I can't carry the burden of the world, because otherwise I don't get anywhere.
For sure.
No, I'm stuck, I'm falling back. And what I appreciate a lot also in the hospitality training is that the youth or the next generation is establishing solid roots in what they do. Being good at something first before you move on to greater things. Something you can always fall back to, but something you know. Solid foundations. And that is a very personal decision at the end, what that is. And then you move on. And there comes what you're saying, you do to the best of your capabilities, and the rest will fall in place.
Nestle, we're always taught, I'm just going to add a little bit to what Reinhold has said. Never try to emulate somebody who's done your job earlier. Never try to say that you're going to be better than that person. Try to be a better version of yourself every day. And for that, you have to really invest in your learning. You have to really invest in your experience, and you really have to be a better version of yourself every day.
True. Jeroen, you seem to be a bit of a philosophical person. So this case is to you, right? Straight out of Amsterdam, right? Okay. If you woke up tomorrow in the morning, right, and you knew you go back in time, but you see the future and Jeroen is sitting today, but you go back in time, what would you tell the younger Jeroen? You know where you're going to land up in 30 years. You know it's today.
Yeah.
What would you tell him?
I don't think I would do so much different, my point, first of all. So back to, you asked me for a philosophical question, so I'll give you a philosophical answer. It is about, in life, about being trustworthy. And what does that mean, trustworthy? Trustworthy is not just about being honest.
Yeah.
Trustworthy means Am I trustworthy? It all depends. I want to be trustworthy in my job. So how can you be trustworthy? That means, of course, you need to have the right attitude and to be honest. But you also need to have the skills and the knowledge and, of course, the ambition. So if you want to be promoted to a next level, and everybody always is asking our teams, can I be promoted? Then my answer is you need to be trustworthy.
Correct.
For the next role.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ambition, you might have the skills and the knowledge and the attitude, but if you at a certain moment don't have the energy levels, don't do it.
Yeah.
If you don't have the skills and the knowledge, but you have an excellent attitude, we can develop your skills and your knowledge. But first and foremost, you need to do that yourself. Do everything possible to develop your skills and your knowledge. If you have them, and you don't want to have too many different variables for a next role, back to what Reinhold was saying, because you don't want to, if you fall back, you don't want to fall back too deep. So you can fall back to a solid platform where you have the skills and the knowledge. So if there's one variable, if you need to develop more skills, but you have already the knowledge and the attitude and the ambition, you can do it. So if you don't have the knowledge, we'll develop your knowledge and we'll train you. And I think, keep in mind, are you trustworthy in what you are doing? And of course, I'm not saying the doctor, if you ask a doctor which car I should buy, the guy is not trustworthy. But like as your father, if we ask about medical things, he will be trustworthy. So be trustworthy in the area where you play. Ask yourself always, am I ready for a next step? So that is how I have always looked at it.
So you're not going to change anything, and I'm going to give your future self any advice? 20 years ago? 30 years ago?
Yeah, well, you could maybe take. I always wanted to go international, so that was for me. If you have a new variable, that was for me the variable, the urge, the curiosity. My curiosity was always stronger than my sense for comfort, and that is still the case because I am so eager to continue to explore. So never stop exploring. Yeah.
So net what we are saying is that he would have still been my boss and he would still be pushing me for numbers.
Yes, yeah, for sure. But last question to you, Saurabh, right? I'm going to put you in a spot from this perspective. It's a thesis, right? Not necessarily it's proven thesis, but it's a thesis. Do you think a good leader has always to be a good father and a good husband and a good person?
Oh, absolutely. I think the basic tenet of being a good leader is to be a decent human being. I think that's where it starts. If you cannot be, and I may be, this is my personal assessment. If you're not a decent human being, if you're not a decent husband, if you're not a decent father, if you're not a decent son in the context of our Indian society, I do not think you have what it takes to be a good leader. It does not. You do not have the.
Absolutely. You know, I'll just wrap it up with a story. True story. No names. 20 years ago, I was part of this franchise business. I had many franchise partners. So one of the franchise partners stays in Hyderabad. You know Hyderabad, right? Would come down to Bombay, and Bombay is a very New York kind of a culture, right? It's not unlike Delhi. Yeah. It's a different culture. Usually people don't go to people's houses there because houses are small and that's just the Bombay culture. You meet outside. You meet in a third place, you never meet. And you would always turn up and say, you know what, can I come to your house for a cup of tea? And I used to be very intrigued, like, why would you want to do that? You know, the airport is there, my house is somewhere else. So I waited him off a couple of times. 6 months later, he said, can I come down to your house? He flew down from Hyderabad to meet me. He said, I've landed early, can I come down to you? So I asked my wife, can he come over in the morning? Because we were getting ready to get to work. He came, had tea, went back, franchise signed.
Yeah.
6 months later, I was having a quiet drink with him in Hyderabad. I asked him, I said, listen, why did you even ask me this question, right? That you want to come down to my house to have tea? He said, I wanted to see you in your environment. How good a person, how good a father, how good a husband, what was the energy of the house, because I am giving my money to you. If you can't keep your house together, there's no way you can keep your business together. And that was a very wise lesson.
So true.
Well said.
Learned from him the other day. But yeah, I'm just going to look into the camera. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as it was enriching for me. And my learning, both at a Nestlé level, but more importantly, at a leadership level, which I knew beforehand, but it just reaffirmed my belief that leadership is that continuous work in progress, and it's about perseverance stretched over a period of time. And as Saurabh rightly said, you just need to be a good human being. It's human being serving another human being. How difficult can it be? Right? Thank you so much for your time. Salam, namaste, sat sri akal, adab.